welcome to Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining us again this week. This week it is really and truly, I say this every week and I mean it, but it's extra really and truly very important for us to have the discussion that we're having today, and it certainly is my pleasure to be a part of this discussion. As you know, I most of the times try to remind you that our nation's children are very, very important. They're much more important than we are, and it's important to protect them at all costs. And our conversation today comes at an opportune time because Guyana is currently observing Child Care and Protection Week. It began on the 20th of September and will conclude tomorrow. You would have known by now that there have been a number of activities to help us observe and, in a sense, celebrate Child Care Protection Week. With me on today's program, well, the entire program today is dedicated specifically to protecting children and what two main organizations are doing to protect our nation's children, not only in Child Protection Week, but this week and beyond. First off, I have the director, Miss Anne Greene. Of course, as you know, Miss Anne Greene is very, very popular, not only in terms of the protection of our nation's children and so on, but in other matters, sometimes very controversial matters. We'll also be discussing some of those today. But I introduce to you the director, Miss Anne Greene, the director of the Child Care and Protection Agency. This is the first time she's being on Facing the Nation, and I trust that after now, the experience will be such a wonderful one that I can invite her to come again. Miss Anne Greene, welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Malika.
Great to have you. Also coming up later on in the program, after I would have completed my conversation with Miss Anne Greene, I have two other lovely young ladies. Miss Ashom Clark, she is the project officer for an organization called Child Link Inc. I know some of you who may not know much about that. You will learn a lot about it today and the work that they're doing to protect our nation's children. Ashom Clark is the project officer at Child Link Inc. And also with her, joining her is Miss Valini Leach, Mrs. Valini Leach. She is the funding and monitoring and evaluation officer there at Child Inc. But of course, I'll talk to those ladies a little later on. First of all, Ms. Greene, let's talk about the activities that you have had thus far this year for Child Protection Week. How would you rate it? Were they successful enough, and do you want to see more happen in previous years when we observe Child Protection Week?
I would say it's about average, the same, We started out the week with a march on Sunday morning, and Child Link had arranged the march. So we started from the Bank of Guyana to the seawall, and that was fairly well attended. And we were able to, the staff and Child Link, we did slogans, and everybody had the placard from our staff on a message that they want to send. Mine was that child protection is shared responsibility. But every member staff, they were able to choose what they want to say on the placard, because we have to send the messages. This is Child Protection Week. It's an awareness week. We want to raise the level of awareness to what is happening with our children.
I am happy that you talked about the fact that it's everybody's business, because I was even reading some of the articles that were reported on some of the things that you said, and you really made an issue the fact that everybody needs to get involved.
Everybody needs to get in.
Do you believe that we are either in a position, or do we even need to do it, to have some sort of programs or projects where we can go into the various communities and get people to come on board in terms of going back to the days when it took a village to raise a child?
Well, that's one of our programs for next year, community mobilization. We have to get the community involved. Child protection starts with the family. First is the family and the community and in the entire society. This notion that is going around that Child Care and Protection Agency is responsible to protect a child. It's shared responsibility. Yes, it's a Child Care and Protection Agency. As a state agency, there are certain mandates their laws, their procedures. We give effect to all the child protection laws, and we have to work towards enforcing these laws and stepping and providing assistance for families, for them to be better able to take their responsibility. So yes, there's some mandates that for the Child Care and Protection Agency, but child protection is everyone's business, and it starts with the family. That's why our theme for this Child Protection Week is strengthening families to protect children.
Okay. You talked about the laws and so on. Again, earlier in the week, you were reported as saying that we need specifically a special victims unit.
Definitely, it's
Now,
time for that.
How can you go forward because this is unfortunate. This fact that I'm about to bring to service is unfortunate. In Guyana, when there is an event, there's the observance of a day or a week, in this case, Child Protection Week. We hear from Greene, we hear from Child Link Inc., we hear from so many other non-governmental organizations, and even our own leaders, our own government ministers. We make a big hurrah about it. And then I'm not saying that after then these organizations don't work, but then there's some quiet, and then we don't hear about it, the big splash again, till in 2016 now. Is there anything that you can possibly do in the meantime to get this special victims unit and also to get the Guyana Police Force more on board in protecting our children?
All right. One of the things about child protection that you must forge partnerships. For positive outcomes for children, it will require that agencies work together. Community involvement of the family. So it's a whole collaborative effort. So for some time we are working to build these essential partnerships. We have done a lot of work with Child Link. There's another NGO, the Blossom Inc. There is the Help and Shelter organization and so on. The police is one of our main collaborators. For us to be successful in what we do, the police play a very important part. And I know that they are considering the Special Victims Unit. Okay. We have to get it. We have to have more speedily response to children being abused. And I'm forever talking about the 72 hours that a perpetrator is held and then he's released. And somehow the case could be brought in 72 hours.
But that's not the case?
It's not the case right now. So there are a lot of perpetrators who walk away from the case, walk away from the country. And we have a lot of children in care that are awaiting justice. And justice delayed is justice denied. It's too long it take to go to the court. A child abused at age 12. The case is now going to court. She's 20. She has 8 years it took. We brought her to a point where she's healed. She doesn't want to go back to that point, to go to court, to bring it up. She's moved on with her life. She has a partner, and so she doesn't want to. So there's several cases that will go down like that, and we have to get more speedily. So if we work together, if we have the Special Victims Unit, things could happen speedily. Right away we can get to things.
As it is now, and you really and truly mentioned a very interesting case there, I mean from the age of 12 to 20. What really happens in terms of what your agency does in that period, 12 to 20, to help to promote some sort of healing? Yes.
The thing is with child abuse, particularly sexual abuse, children hardly ever overcome child abuse, let me just tell you. The scars go with them for life. They take it into adulthood. And there's a secret pain of parental abandonment and rejection that a child had to remove from home because the parents, they were not supporting the child when the child tell. In fact, the perpetrators sometimes get more support than the child. So a child, it's so difficult to handle child abuse, and when there's no support, it makes it even harder. And we have to find alternative care for a child, because if a child tell of abuse, and then the perpetrator is held for 72 hours and then released, perhaps he goes right back into the home, he goes right back into the community. How can the child remain with the family? So most times we have to find alternative care for the child. So the child now coming with feelings that I tell, and now I'm the one that is leaving the home. And the child is this rejection, this feeling of rejection and abandonment. My mom is supporting the perpetrator, and I had to be removed from the home. Now we have to work with this child to get her to heal that it's not your fault. It's nothing that you do. A lot of times the children feel responsible, and they even recant, say, look, I am going and say to the magistrate, this didn't happen. All because they want to go back home and they want the support. And so there's a lot of work. And it's no easy task, I can tell you, to bring them to that point that they could start to heal and know, look, it is not your fault. You're still that sweet, lovely child. It wasn't. And so most times we have a lot of work to do to bring them to that point.
For the benefit of, and to some extent myself, and to the benefit of the viewers, when you remove a child who has either been abused or sexually molested from a home, what, in terms of your organization, what happens with the child? Where does the child go?
All right. Institutional care is a last resort. It's not a first resort. We look first for a supportive family member in the extended family. All right. Then we look to see if we have a suitable foster parent that the child can go to. And then the last resort is putting the child in an institution. And the child stays in the institution, allowed, continue school and everything. In the institutions, we try to give them the normal life as possible, what other children will get. You get to go to school, you get activities, and so you get counseling for healing and so on.
How accessible in our country? Because the fact is, we live in a third world country. It is very difficult as it is for some parents to take care of their own families, much less to, and their hearts may be in the right place. They may be willing to become foster parents, but then the finances may not allow it. Their own personal situations may not allow it. So in saying all of that, how accessible is foster care really in Guyana? How willing are people to be involved?
Well, it is new to Guyana, structured foster care. As I said before, somebody will keep a child and say, look, I'm raising this child, or, I mind this child, and they raise the child up as their own. In Guyana, a structured foster care is temporary care. There come a time that the child going to have to return. It's not permanent care, it's temporary care. And we do pay the foster parents stipend, so they get a monthly sum to look after the child. And even if it's a kin, so foster care, we look at kinship care, and we still pay you the money that we will pay a stranger, but at least we know the child is with family. So we're trying to maintain that link. But we don't have many foster parents. As I said, right now I think we have approximately 179 children in foster care with 111 foster parents. Foster Care Month is coming up in November, where we will use Awareness Day to get more foster parents to come on board, because it's better with a child in a family-like setting where they can get some individual attention. You see, institutional care in children homes and orphanages, they are lifesavers, but they're not the best for children living in that environment. It's not the best thing. So if the foster care would be better for a child, but it's temporary care. Every 6 months, we have to review the case for a permanency plan for the child.
Okay. In saying that, finally, before we come off of this issue specifically, after the 6 months and you would have reviewed the case, let's say the child's biological home that you would have taken him or her, from before, because of this abuse or sexual harassment or whatever the case may have been, you may see a change in terms of the fact that the parent may now have a better or different lifestyle. But are you ever concerned that this parent or these parents may become, well, for want of a better term, may become repeat offenders?
That's a concern all the time. In fact, it is one of our ethical dilemmas. Because when a child is removed, the ultimate goal is to return the child. So work must be done with the family to remove the vulnerability that created the child having to be removed from home. So a lot depends on the cooperation of the parent to be able to work with us to correct whatever it is. But if it's starting out on the premise that you're not even supporting the child, there's some difficulty there. We have children that the perpetrator is still in the home.
And you
And
don't
the
ever put the
parents,
child
we
there.
cut the parent, the mother. We have a case where the mother, she's now pregnant again for the
Same.
perpetrator. This would be difficult for this child ever to go back in the home. The case is still waiting at is still pending in the system, but we can't send the child back home to this environment. You see, so we must, when a child is to return home, we must be sure that whatever created that vulnerability is null and void, is non-existent for the child to return home. And then we also have to follow to ensure the child's continued well-being now that the child have returned home. And at one time, we were working with ChildLink, who were doing a project for us in terms of following the children to ensure some of the children that we do put back in the home. But we cannot put back a child in a home if the problem, the situation that created that child vulnerability is still exists. There's no way we can do that. So some children are staying in foster care and institutional care a longer time than they should really stay. And in fact, we have children that will age out of formal care. They will never ever be able to go back home. So they will age out, and then we have a program that we work and be preparing children who will age out independent living. They will have to eventually establish an independent household. So we work with children. We have a halfway house that children never able to go back home. They can't. They will not.
Have you ever had a case where maybe you have your agents, your workers, may have evaluated home parents that you would have previously removed a child from? They seem okay to be doing well, to be healing and ready to take that child back or children back, but the child or children express sentiments of not wanting to go back. Have you ever had that?
Yes,
situation?
we've had cases
And
like
how
that.
do you deal with it?
All right, how we do, we work with the child, counseling the child, working with the parent to rebuild that, the bonding. You know, we started early. We know that the child must return home or the parent has fixed, and be convinced that everything was done and this child can return home. Well, then we have to start what we term a bonding process to regain that child, to regain that trust with the parent. So every week, and it might start out with the child going just for a weekend, to spend a weekend or a holiday, building. And eventually a child will say, you know, I think I'm ready now to go back home. Yeah, but we have cases, I have one right now where a child is telling me to please find somebody to adopt me. I'm never going back to that home. We do have that. But we give children, we work with them, we allow them to have a say in the care. And at times they're very good at, pointing out some even little things to us. So they do have a say in the care. Long as they're over 7 and so, they can talk about where they feel comfortable and so on.
Okay, great. Viewers, if you're now joining us, of course, this is Facing the Nation. Today I am talking with the director of the Child Care and Protection Agency, Miss Greene. And of course, the conversation comes as Guyana prepares, in a sense, to pull the curtains down on a week of observation regarding Child Protection Week here in Guyana. Ms. Greene, on to another matter. You talked about the, just a quote. I'm hoping that this quote was accurate. I took it from one of the ladies. Yes. Sexual abuse is still a hidden crime in Guyana, and people are still accepting abusers of their children. You did touch on that a bit, but why do you believe that there is this, not just the silence coming from a community or from a specific family, but general? Why do you believe that people still, in general, do not want to speak out when it comes to abuse against children?
All right. Particularly about sexual abuse. Talking about sexual activity is still taboo in a lot of families. People really don't want to see, don't want to hear. And a lot of times, persons in denial. And we have found that a lot of women, they're in denial. They don't want to know. They turn a blind eye. And a lot it depends on what is happening in society. Some women, they feel that there's a lot of insecurity. There's a lot of dependency on the perpetrator. So they don't want to talk. They would turn a blind eye, encourage that child to say, because they'll tell the child tell us that the perpetrator will go away and leave us, and so on. But the general is, I'm thinking about the values in society. Values. How children are viewed, how children are treated. This whole question of the culture of abuse. Those are the things that we're looking at is saying, well, and we have to change that, how children are viewed and how children are treated. And there's some things that are common in terms of children that are abused that is happening in society. And one, that is domestic abuse in the home. There's substance abuse, including alcohol. There's parental mental health issues. And we can't rule out poverty. And these are the things that are creating vulnerability for children and families. And it's things that we need to address, to look. And this is a big task because we have to change attitudes. How people would want to discipline children, how you view children, how you really view a child. Children are not miniature adults. People seem to think that they are. But who they are little people. They have their hurts and their pain. Children will tell me, they talk about me like if I'm not here. That's they're talking about
You actually
children.
get them telling you that.
We spend a lot of time talking with children, and they say yes. Like if I don't exist, they know that I am feeling hurt, that I am feeling pain. They say things. So persons got to understand they're little people with feelings, just like an adult. The things that will affect you, the things that will hurt you, will hurt the children. So we have to start regarding them as that they're really little people, and they're in need of our protection, our love and support. So if persons realize that, we start to treat children better. And the whole question of punishing children, and everybody say that I was beaten as a child. Everybody tell me that, and look how I turn out all right. I will say to them, you might have turned out even better.
Without a few
the
lashes.
I can just let you think about it, because yes, some parents, you beat for breakfast, you beat for lunch, and then you're throwing beat again for dinner. Oh yeah, we have parents who are saying, listen, I'm never going to stop beating, and their method of beating is a big stick, and anything that you could find, you beat a child with. So this whole question, what are happening? And then we have to get back to the days where the whole village raised a child. That some person, you're doing anything wrong on the road, you're looking around to see who will see, because without cell phones in those days, but your parents used to know. I tell you, I have a story that I told. I remember coming from lessons and stopped one night and talked to a boy. I don't know, we had no cell phones, but by the next night, my mother knew that I stopped and talked to a boy. She came the next night to the lessons. Yeah, when I looked, there she was coming to find out what is happening here. That's to tell you, in those days, that the network is the whole village raised the child. And I'm saying that is where we want to get back to get communities, get everybody involved. And that's the program that we're working for next year, is really a whole conscious raising exercise, that people to understand what's your role and what's your duty, what's your responsibility as an adult to protect a child. We want to get back to those days.
In saying all of that, does your agency have a system or a process whereby, and this is linking the school system to the Child Care and Protection Agency, is there a process whereby if a teacher or teachers suspect that a child or children are being abused, they can somehow report it to the Child Care and Protection? And this is without them using their own initiative. Have you put anything in place for that?
Yes, we have that, that the teachers, and I'm saying now that we do have a good relationship with the teachers. They're the front runners when it comes to spotting abuse, because the child is there in the classroom. There's signs you can see. And I know of one case recently, the teacher said the child wasn't going home. At the end of the day, the child reluctant to go home. The child was hanging around and wanting to do things to close up and so on. And the teacher, talking with the child, found out that the child was being sexually abused at home. And that's why she was reluctant. And she said, right away, I'll take you to the Child Care Agency. And that same afternoon, we had to take the child into care. And the child is in care with us now. The matter, yes, is with the police. And it's waiting to go to the to the court. So teachers are front runners. They can see a child coming to school without no lunch is deceivable. A child who has suddenly become very aggressive, a change in personality is saying that something is not right with this child. And if something doesn't look right, we need to find out, investigate, and do. Yeah, but we can have an improved social networking and child care agency. We're working towards that. I'm saying that all the key stakeholders, because we are trying to build the collaboration, a whole team that we're working together collectively to provide intervention for children and positive outcomes.
Okay. In talking and giving that example that you just give about basically child care and protection agencies stepping in and removing that child for the own good of the child, this is where the controversial side, in terms of the controversial conversations regarding Anne Greene comes in. You have in the past been accused of just stepping in, the big bad giant, for want of a better word, because I'm seeing her viewers, and it's strange enough. I have a totally different opinion and a whole different idea about Anne Greene now. But of course, that's for another discussion. You have been accused of being all of these things, a number of these things. How do you deal with that sort of criticisms, and at the same time trying to get people to understand that maybe you may not like my methods, but my intentions are somewhat good? Let's talk about that.
I'll tell you what. Human services, or even I'm working in child protection, that every day I have to make a decision that for the protection of a child that will not find favor with the adults in the children's life. Right? But it's a decision that must be firm and must be able to protect the child. So every hour in a day, I am faced with making a decision to protect a child. And the next thing, frontline workers, staff, they're the ones that sets the tone, because the attitude, the perception, and how the energy and everything that they put into do their task. And in child care, there's no room for a lapse. Because every time you lapse, something happens. It might be the destruction of a child and a family. So there's no room for lapses. So you always have to. And in retrospect, I'm a teacher. I have to teach. I got to impart the knowledge. I got to correct and so on. And there are people, you correct them and they hate you for life. You know that. Sure. So there are a lot of things. So I wonder sometimes, I said, with these decisions I make, well, I could understand who would like me. But in this business, you got to be tough. And I tell people, you have to have a hide as tough as a rhinoceros, because you're going to be criticized. You will be criticized. Anybody in human services and providing, helping, and so on, you will be criticized. And you have to be able to deal with criticism. And then the other thing that keeps me going, I use Mother Teresa's wisdom. You do good and you get kicked in your teeth, but you do good anyway. Because we have to. Who will do it? These are tough decisions must be made. And I'm the one, the tough decisions, I'm the head of the agency, the buck stops with me. Whenever they reach a point where, look, this is a tough one here. So it will face with me as a director to make these tough decisions.
Do you ever think that you would change being this straight to the point, no nonsense person? Do you think you would ever, if not change it completely, for want of a better term, tone it down a bit just in order to get along with people better?
Well,
would you ever?
I'm conscious of it. Okay. And yes, every year with my staff and so on, I'll tell them, I'll be a little bit more, they feel that I'm too much of a taskmaster. Okay, and every year I promise them, okay, I'll turn down, I will rub more backs, and, but it's all about somebody got to be firm, somebody got to make tough decisions, and somehow it's my role, but it's not really my personality. I'm a fun-loving person. I got a great sense of humor. In fact, I find every day that something that we can laugh about, if it's even about ourselves. If I never used to do that, I could not have lasted doing this so long. I have a great sense of humor. There are times when the media do When I look at it sometimes, I say, wow, they really don't know me. They might know of one person's experience with
Experience, yes.
me, all right, but if you really look at it and find out, you really see something more. Because I'm not. I am really a fun-loving person who very, very pleasant, if people know. But I'm a stickler for certain things, and I'm saying in this job here, there can't
You
be
can't
lapses.
be
You gotta be.
understood.
You gotta be. There could never ever be a lapse. And the buck stops with me. I can hardly ever say, look, Susan, as I'm saying to you, the front run line workers, they're the ones to set the tone and the pace and what is happening, and for the whole agency. So there are some challenges, and with the parents, it starts out, if you look at this the relationship with us is always one of distrust, because they know that we're coming with authority and we might be able to take away the child. So there's this distrust right off with the agency. And most times it boils down to Anne Green. And Anne Green, if I go to the market, it's be a whole lot of fun sometimes that some would come in to me and saying this, and another one saying, look, the lady will take away the children. And most
Yeah.
time I get off with them and said, I don't do that. I'm the good guy. I'm the one that come to help the children. We're the good guys. I would say that to them, and then we'll end up having a little, banter and a little light moment. And then they'll say, but the media is portraying a little wrong, and Green. I said, all
A
right,
lot
don't
wrong,
always.
actually.
They say that, So the lovely time when I go down to the market and meet persons and so on. But it's just that child protection is serious business, and children in state care and state agencies, it's serious. It's really serious, and we have to treat it like that. And that is what persons got to remember. Decisions at the end of the day is to protect the child, is to ensure that that child will have a life, will be free from harm and abuse. So we try our best. And one person's got to remember, the child protection, every officers, they have to deal with abuse, They have to deal with the horrors every day of abuse. Think about it, even sometimes their own safety.
But I'm happy that you mentioned that. Have
Yeah.
you ever, and this is not as a result of what would have happened to a child, have you ever had to call in the police as a result of threats on your
Haley,
life?
we
Or-
have had threats daily. There's no day that is not. Yeah. Up to coming out today here to you, there's a guy that is threatening fire and brimstone there. Yes, so they have to deal with that. So sometimes people don't understand. Child protection officers is 24/7. All right, sometimes they look more at the children, the vulnerable children, than their own children. All right, they need to be recognized and appreciated for what they do. Our task is a serious task, and persons need to understand. We just don't come to make trouble for people and to remove a child. We don't want to do that. We want the child to be with the parents. That's where the child should be. We don't want to put a child in an institution. We want parents to come together to agree. You're separated, but the two of you are the children parents, and you can work together to ensure this child gets a good life. All right? But most times, the staff, I feel, they're not really, recognized and appreciated for the task what they do daily. They even got to leave their own children and come out and protect all the children.
I have two other quick things before it's amazing. I think I'm going to have to ask the Channel 6 studios a day for 2 hours to bring Mrs. But before I have to begin to wrap up with you, two things. First off, do you find that you have to make a special effort or put specific measures in place to reach our children, those in the hinterland communities?
Oh yes, special. We're thinking about it all the time. It's a challenge. Providing protective service for children in the interior. It's quite challenging. We got to make a special effort. There are things that we have to do. We have to bridge the gap between culture and law. We got to do re-education and education of various groups to understand child protection, because the laws of the land stands out. It is not just for one group of children, it's for all children. All right, so it is challenging to get workers for those areas. But for next year, the whole our work program, we definitely will be decentralizing the work of the agency and be getting in more into those areas because we're looking at analyzing our data and we know where the problem, is. So we definitely, it's receiving attention.
Okay. I can't, and I know somewhere in the back of your mind, this question is coming. And this is going to be my final question for today. I can't possibly have Anne Greene on this program and not ask Anne Greene about her current relationship with the Ministry of Social Protection. I know your agency falls under that.
Yeah.
When APNU AFC first took office, and of course this is without giving any specific and any details. Public does not need to know that, but at the beginning, some would describe the beginning of your relationship with the new, in a sense, new ministry, the Ministry of Social Protection, a bit of a rocky one because of varying reports. How is Anne Greene and the Child Care Protection Agency, coping under the new administration, given the rocky beginnings of the new relationship with the ministry?
All right. As the leader, I encourage the staff all the time that what we do, to me, is not even a job, it's a mission. And when you're in a mission, your heart and soul you put into it. And you make sacrifices. Sometimes food doesn't even matter because you got to make sacrifices. So it's a mission. We're protecting the children. So, as I said, you're going to got to get kicking your teeth and move on because there's so much work to do. There's a lot to be done. And I think the staff, they're feeling as a good position they're at. As I said, we would like a little bit more recognition for the work that we do, a little bit more appreciation. People just to understand a little bit more this whole question of child protection and what it means. And, a lot of times person will complain and say, Anne Greene do this or somebody do this and do that. But they should really find out and get the whole story. It might not be. And most times we can't get into the media and talk the same. So we gotta just love it, But I said I try to provide that kind of leadership for them that, and I say things to them, look, stand tall and deliver. And we get out there. So we are coping and it's it's getting better. It's unfortunate the beginning, but we're getting over it. We are moving on, as I said, we are on a mission.
Okay, great. Fabulous, well said. Anne Greene, Director of the Child Care and Protection Agency Unit, and of course that functions under the Ministry of Social Protection. Ms. Greene, I want to thank you very much. I learned a lot more, a lot more today. We didn't even get to touch on some of the other things, but I promised to have Ms. Anne Greene back on the program and get some more regarding what her agency is doing and what they will continue to do for the children of our nation. Of course, don't go anywhere. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, I'll be talking to the two young ladies from Child Link Inc., and they'll be telling you about their work, not only for this week, but this week and beyond, as we continue to try our very best to protect our nation's children. Stay with us. much for staying with us. Of course, welcome back. And those of you who have just joined us today, today's program is dedicated to Child Protection Week. Even though the week is almost completed, it will end on the 26th of September, of course, which is tomorrow. We're still discussing the importance of children in our nation. Earlier, of course, I was talking with Greene, the director of the Child Care and Protection Agency. I think the fact that I'm surrounded by great women today is making me a bit nervous. Now, I have two young ladies from the Child Link Incorporated. Of course, that is one of the non-governmental organizations that continue to do work to protect our nation's children. With me is Miss Ashom Clark. She is the project officer over there at Child Link Inc. Welcome to you, Ashom. Good to have you.
Good afternoon. Welcome to be on the program today.
All right, wonderful. And of course, Miss Valini Leach. She is the funding, monitoring, and evaluation officer over at Child Link Inc. Welcome, Valini.
Thank you, Malika. And, thanks a lot for having us in such a short notice.
Yes, and no, I should say thank you. This is all in the efforts and aim to ensure that our nation's children are where they should be, both mentally and, of course, physically. Now, ladies, let's talk about your organization. Of course, I can begin with you, Ashom, as the project officer. What is the aim? For people who don't know, what is the aim of Child Link Inc.?
Well, ChildLink is a local non-governmental organization. ChildLink basically is an organization that, with a Guyanese society, where every child has the right to grow up in a safe and a secure family and a community. So basically, ChildLink, our mandate is to work with children to provide them with a secure and a safe environment. Okay. That's what we do as a ChildLink.
Okay. What are some of the activities thus far that you have put together, not only to celebrate this week, to observe, this week, but other activities just to contribute?
Well, we began the Child Protection Week, as Ms. Greene said, on the program. We started on Sunday morning with a walk from Bank of Guyana to the Seawall Bandstand, and that was collaboration with Child Protection, Child Link. We had donors from EU, we had the representative from UNICEF, and that's where we started off the walk. And then we were part of an activity in Linden, Child Protection Week in Linden on Monday, where we were a part of a Child Protection had a booth set up at Linden, where Child Link was a part with the officer from the police, Ministry of Education, school welfare officer, where we were able to interact with the students and parents as they pass and tell them about child rights and their child care, basically to bring awareness that every child has a right to be protected and to live in a secure and a safe family and environment.
Okay, all right. Valini, now I know your job, thank you, Ashom, your job must be difficult. I mean, funding and monitoring and evaluation officer. What are some of the most challenging issue that you would have faced thus far in your role in terms of contributing to protecting our children?
Well, I must say thank you to agencies like the European Union and UNICEF. They've been major contributors to Child Link. And we have some other private donors. However, we are hoping that this new dispensation sees the need and the urgency to help Child Link through the Ministry of Social Protection and the Child Protection Agency to help us in this need. For me, it's a dilemma right now for such a small nation to have such a high rate of child abuse. We recently launched our latest Child Advocacy Center. This was launched on Wednesday at Fort Wellington. It is my hope, and the management and staff of Child Link, we hope that after the funding from the European Union would have ceased, that the government sees it fit to step in, because this is something that is needed, and Guyana is actually spearheading this kind of center. The Child Advocacy Center is a place where an abused child can go and do an interview just one time. And at that only interview, you will have the multidisciplinary team there, and that is law enforcement, DPP, medical services, and social work. Everybody will be there. The child will be interviewed by a forensic interviewer just once. It will be recorded and used as evidence. Now, these centers will save a lot in terms of emotional trauma. Imagine a little boy or girl having to tell this story 10 times over.
I'm happy that you mentioned that, because even as you were talking, I can remember reading that the Child Advocacy Center and Child Link in general, if I can quote exactly here, it caters for the vulnerable children in society, conducting forensic interviews and providing counseling services for victims of all forms. Do you find that you've had, because you just explained it, do you find that you've had difficulty with getting parents, guardians, sometimes siblings, to bring their child or children to talk?
Yes, that is a major problem. I wouldn't say they don't want to do it. A lot of times it is, for want of a better word, ignorance, because your child might be abused, but other than the police station, you do not know where to go to access counseling. You do not know where to go to access the required services for your child. So the most important issue right now should be awareness, letting the entire Guyanese population know that these centers are available, they are child friendly, they are child focused, and we are willing to work with you.
Are you in a position to give numbers at this time in terms of, not necessarily specific, but an amount of, persons that would have come to you so far to get counseling for their children, and maybe even other assistance?
At this point, I cannot give you specifically a number, but I can tell you last year there was 600 reported cases of sexual abuse in Guyana, and this is towards children. We found that 1 in 3 girls will actually be abused or exploited in her lifetime in Guyana for such a small population, and it's 1 in 6 boys. So you see, it's no longer a situation of just our little girls. It's little boys and girls.
Okay. You talked about the Child Advocacy Center in Fort Wellington that you opened earlier. Of course, you ladies would have heard I asked Director Greene about providing care and so on, and extending reach to the hinterland communities. I know this is a non-profit organization, and you did just plead for government to step in terms of funding and so on when the EU is completed. But are you in a position, or are there plans to possibly see what you can do, not only in the hinterland communities, but communities outside of Georgetown?
Yes, those things are in the pipelines. We have gotten a number of reports. Almost daily, we have people from Bartica, Madhya, and so on reaching out to us. When will you come? We need an organization like this in our community. Just recently, I spoke with someone from an indigenous rights organization, and the man was pleading for our help. So definitely, we have these kinds of programs in the pipelines. However, location and also funding is somewhat difficult.
Well, let's hope government hears your plea and steps in. And of course, you can continue to plea. The thing is, it's not even about your pleas. The fact that you're doing this for our nation's children. So I trust that you can get the assistance that you need. Ladies, I know you have a vigil that's coming
Yes,
up tonight.
tonight.
Both of you, anybody can
Okay.
jump in here.
Well, it's the Silent No More Vigil, a candlelight vigil, and it will be featuring inspirational stories and live performances. We also will have a segment for those who are willing to share their stories or share their experiences. And after the event, we we will have counselors and so on in the audience. And if there's a need to speak to anyone, or you would not want, let's say you would not have wanted to go and discuss it in the open forum, you can go quietly and speak to one of these individuals. They will be wearing a white armband, so
Okay.
you'll be able to identify. It starts at 6 at the police officers' mess. We're asking if you can wear white in support of the victims and survivors. It's open to the public for free.
Okay, all right. Ladies, it sounds great. Before I let you go, because of course the time has flown by so quickly today, it's almost wrap up time. Is there anything that I would have possibly missed that you would want to get in the public domain, not only about Child Inkling, but and working along with children, but other activities you may be involved in and working on for not only this non-governmental organization, but for our nation as a whole?
We have a number of programs on stream, some of which I cannot discuss at this time. However, this is a call not only as a child advocate, but as a parent and a mother. Look for the signs. Not because he or she may have become withdrawn, or as we would want to say in our Guyanese term, would have smelled their own perspiration or become a big man or woman. Not because that is happening, we sweep it under the carpet.
And so it's a norm.
Right. Our children, the Guyanese children, is the most important resource of this country. And if we continue to treat them like this, we will not have a generation to look for.
Understood. And we keep harping on this thing. Yes, our youths, our children are the future, and we're still lacking in terms of protecting them.
Yes, as an advocate, and I think this will be one of the projects that I would like to work on for 2016, to have our children, let's start a mentorship something. Have them go into the ministries and so forth, at least for a day. I hope Minister Lawrence would initiate Take Your Child to Work Day.
Very good idea.
Yes, let's have a junior president day, because I know there are very many little boys and girls out there who aspire to be just as or even better than President David Granger.
I think it's a fabulous idea. Ashom, I don't know if you'd like to add anything.
Just to add to what Feline said, we also have the TEL scheme program. I know you never heard about
Yes.
the TEL scheme, where we trained teachers and PTA members to identify some of the signs of sexual abuse. And Keen Chase has the responsibility of that program, where she visits all the 10 regions and she trained the PTA as well as executive members to identify the signs of sexual abuse. So a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old in nursery school, you're able to see signs of if the child has been sexually abused. We also have the gender-based violence project. That's a project where we are building capacity and bringing awareness in the 15 high school. To mention, this program is in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the Child Protection Agency. We work in schools like Dolphin Secondary School, East Rumville Secondary School, South Rumville Secondary School, where we train. We have a bunch of young people where we call them youth advocate mentor. We train them to identify some of the signs and the symptoms of gender-based violence. So these are the programs that ChildLink is working on, and we're working with young people, because our young people are the future generation. So we're here to equip and give them the knowledge.
Okay, great, and they will appreciate it. And ladies, I certainly appreciate the both of you coming. I have to say thank you very much to Valini for this idea. Viewers, I must let you know when I started off the idea of focusing on on children for this week's program, because of course I know it was Child Protection Week and so on. I focused only on getting the director of the Child Care and Protection Agency, but my good friend Valini suggested an additional avenue, and for that I am grateful, because it not only reminded viewers of the need to protect our children, but it also let you know that, especially some of you who have not heard about Child Link Inc. before, to let you know that there are agencies and organizations out there working to protect our children. So once again, ladies, thank you very much for being here. Miss Ashom Clark, the project officer at Child Link Inc., and Miss Felini Leach, the funding and monitoring and evaluation officer over there at Child Link Inc. Viewers, unfortunately, our time for today has come to an end, so this is where I have to pull the curtains down on today's program. As always, I urge you to be good Guyanese citizens. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and take care of our children. It is almost the end of Child Protection Week. I trust that you know where your children are and what they are currently doing. I am Malika Ramsey. Join me again next time.